Hello and welcome to Science9bio.weebly.com. Here you can learn all about hatching an egg outside of its shell, DNA, mitosis, meiosis plus the cell cycle, plant cells versus animal cells, reproduction, and about eggs. First, let's look at hatching a chicken outside its shell. This is our introduction where we talk about how we came to want to do this experiment and how it started off with our teachers showing us a video about Japanese students who successfully hatched a chicken without the use of its shell. The purpose of this lab is to see if we are able to hatch a chicken outside of its shell and observe how the embryo develops. Our hypothesis for this experiment is if you removed a fertilized chicken embryo from its shell and place it in an artificial vessel, then the embryo will continue to grow and develop. Next is a list of materials that you would need and that we used to do this experiment. Below that is the procedures. Procedures is a list of the step-by-step stuff that we had done during our experiment. Here is our data and observations. We recorded the weight of our 8 eggs before and after pre-incubation. Here is a picture of one of the eggs that had a visible heartbeat and continued to develop, as well as blood appeared to be beginning to get darkened. Here we have some side notes, and underneath that is our errors, part of the reasons how come the eggs do not hatch. And then is our conclusion where we talk about what we would like to improve next time and some of the problems that we had. So then next, let's look at DNA. DNA, building blocks of life. Here is some information about what DNA is and what it does. Below that is some terms you need to know, like clones, chromatin, chromosomes, genes, genetic traits, genetic variations, mutations. Next we have is mitosis, meiosis plus the cell cycle. So first up is mitosis. Here we talk about what mitosis is and its 4 stages, also known as PMAT. We have a diagram here of those stages happening. Next is the cell cycle, which is made up of 3 stages: interphase, mitosis, and kinesiosis. Here we have is meiosis, which is where the cell divides 2 times, so there's meiosis 1 and meiosis 2, and it talks about that and the differences between meiosis and mitosis. Here we have a diagram of meiosis 1 and meiosis 2 going on. Next is plant cells versus animal cells. Here is animal cells. We explain the organelles in the animal cell and their function to ensure the cell's survival. So there's a list of that there. There's cell membrane, chiroplasm, mitochondria, ribosomes, ER, which there is rough ER, smooth ER. And then there's Golgi body, vessels, vacuole, nucleus, nuclear membrane, nucleolus, and nuclear pores. Here we have a diagram of where those organelles are located and what they look like. Here for plant cells we have the same thing. And then the two functions that are different from a plant cell and an animal cell, which is chiroplast and cell wall. And also it talks about how the vacuoles are different in animal cells and plant cells. Plant cells have one large one, while animal cells have several small ones. Let's go into reproduction now. Reproduction, comparing asexual to sexual. So in asexual reproduction, it explains what that is and the 5 different types of it, and how it involves only one parent, making the offspring genetically identical to the parent. There is a list of pros and cons. Sexual reproduction, which requires 2 parents. So this explains about that and how there are 2 different ways to reproduce in sexual reproduction, such as internal fertilization and external fertilization. Here we have pros and cons of that. Then we have plant reproduction, which uses both sexual and asexual reproduction. And here are the 3 steps on how they reproduce. Now into about eggs. So egg parts and its functions. Here we have a diagram of the different parts of the egg, and then a list of them and what they do. So you can go into our videos to find the video of the Japanese students who had successfully hatched a chicken outside of its shell. Here we have is our resources. We had used 1 book and 7 websites. And then our picture resources on where we got our pictures from. We used 7 different websites to get our pictures. So that is it. Thank you for watching, and we hope that you have learnt something through our website, Science9bio.weebly.com. Well, okay. I hope you enjoyed.